Hey, everybody. Welcome to 2025.
Come on. Woo!
We made it.
Hey, welcome.
We made it to 2025.
Can you believe that?
I mean, honestly, I know most people may not get this reference, but like, remember the Jetsons?
Yeah.
Like, we're living in the Jetson era, I think.
No doubt.
I don't know. Are we?
No doubt.
I mean, there's drones
I think
flying
we're beyond
everywhere.
that. Yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy stuff. But it's 2025.
We're here.
And we survived. No, we're not survivors.
No.
We are thrivers. We thrived all the way through 24, and now we are here ready to tackle
It's going to be a great year.
the year of our Lord, 2025.
Yeah, fantastic year.
Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Do you set New Year's resolutions?
No.
Okay. Why?
I think most of those are great ideas, but I think they never go nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's better just not even do it.
let's just make steady, slow progress. And so that's kind of my mindset.
So don't set a resolution that you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, and then you go. Yeah, it's who wants to do that?
Yeah, I know somebody who said they threw out the whole concept of doing resolutions and they just started embracing like a one-word goal for the year.
Yeah,
like grow or thrive or give, which I thought that was pretty cool. Like that's something you can wrap.
I mean, it's documented, but most resolutions never come to pass.
Yeah. What do you think the most failed resolution is?
Lose weight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Well,
or exercise. Like gyms are full, like in January.
Oh yeah,
right. By February, they're back to normal.
If you are a salesperson, you need to get into the gym membership sales in the month of January and then quit. Just quit. Go on vacation for the rest of the year because you're going to make all your money that month because no one is signing up for gyms in February.
It's over.
Give up. Well, welcome to Between Sundays, where we aren't selling gym memberships, but we are trying to help leaders get better. We're trying to help our church get better.
We really want to do that.
Trying to help GPC people just become better leaders, better people, wherever, whatever their walk in life is, whether it's a job, whether it's a mom or a dad, a parent. We just want to help them to be better and to grow and to make progress. We want that to be what this podcast is about.
Yeah, we want to be helpful. We want to help you become the best version of yourself, right? We want God's perfect will to be accomplished in your life. And man, we would love to contribute to that in any way we can.
So what's something this is a new year. We already determined no resolutions. What's something you're looking forward to this year?
I think there's a lot of great opportunities like in our church, like we're going to accomplish some things, see some visions literally come to pass, which I'm super excited about. And so, when you work really, really hard to see things come to life and then all of a sudden it's an accomplished vision, man, I'm super excited about that. On the personal note, I'm very thankful and excited about just some personal things that God's doing in my life and opportunities and just things that I'm going to be able to I don't want to say too much, but, be able to be a part of. I'm just really thrilled about that
stuff.
Well, man, I don't know if it's top secret, but I'd have to kill you.
Yeah. So. well, that'd be a really terrible way to start 2025, dead. But I will say this, I do think it's going to be a great year.
I do.
I'm excited. Whatever you're excited about, I'm excited with you.
Yeah.
I don't even know, but I'm just excited.
And, it's so important that you approach the year with, a sense of hope and enthusiasm, just an excitement. That really does go a long way.
Yeah, there's a really great opportunity for newness, fresh. That's the gift of each year, right? Mm-hmm. You do get to approach it with sort of a clean slate. Let's do this. So we've got a great episode today. It's just me and you. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think we can do some good work here.
You think we can handle it today?
I'm actually excited.
To be fair, it's not just me and you. We have a
magic.
Valuable return.
The Wizard of Oz.
We signed him another contract, another year of Between Sundays, and that is Austin.
Come
Mays.
on, Austin Mays, man, give it up.
In the room, just when
live
you thought,
and in color.
How did they get him back? I'm just telling you, contract extensions are real.
Yeah.
And
we'll sign us bonuses help too.
We locked him in. We told him we'd give him all the green tea he wants. For those that don't know, if you want to give Austin something that he loves diet green tea. So there you go, T-shirts and green tea for Austin, the producer. Pastor, we have some great stuff we're going to talk about today. Why don't you tell these amazing people what are we going to talk to them about?
Yeah, so when we were just strategizing about helping people future focus, really kind of look through the lens of what are possibilities. Really, there's some things that I think we can talk about. Now, this is not a complete list of things, but I think they're all important. And so, when you look at this new year and say, hey, what's next? Like, really, what do we need to be thinking about? What do we need to be focusing on? What are going to help us, right, become better church people, better leaders, better families, better whatever. Just how do we look to the future of what is next? And so we compiled, I think there's about 7 of them that we could just, hey, let's talk about these, because I think all of them really do make a difference.
Yeah, so you let the cat out of the bag right there. There's 7.
Yeah. There's
7, and these are just what we're kind of calling growth drivers for 2025. Like everyone listening to this, I believe they want to make progress. They want to grow. Yeah. And we believe that if you take these 7 things, you're going to, and you start applying them this year, you're going to see growth in your life.
And let me just say why it is important, because what we're up against, like the spirit, the culture, the current of our world that is fighting against faith, against church, against healthy leaders. I mean, there's a lot of things that we contend with. Someone put a list like this, like dissolving families, like families that are under attack, right? There's a real growing issue there. There's a lot of migration, a lot of people moving around, a lot of people that, again, are being displaced. So there's that issue. And then there's a lot of collapsing morals. Like our world is becoming a different place almost every week, where morals are being challenged. Biblical morals, for sure, are being challenged. But, again, that pushes against the church and what we stand for, what leaders. And so it does take courage. But other things like there's a deconstruction of faith, people that are losing hope in the church, losing hope in a relationship with God. Like how many great people I've done this before. You've probably seen pictures of your old youth group, and you're looking at them and saying, like, does any of those go to church anymore? Are any of them living for God? Right? That's a sad reality when you begin to look at it. There's a deconstruction of faith. Like, how does that happen? There's something that we're contending with. The fact that we have a false intimacy, false friendships, where you have a lot of people on social media, a lot of people that are connected, but they're not. There's no association that is meaningful and deep. There's just a lot of things that confront leaders, confront the church, confront those of faith, that we have to wade through and not let it affect us. And so, again, I think this subject matter is very important.
Yeah, so let's jump in. These are 7 growth drivers for 2025. And we believe if you apply these, you're going to see positive steps. You're going to see progress. Yeah. And so, number 1, tell us what number 1 is.
Number 1 is faith to grow. Like, do you believe the church can grow? Do you believe Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church can grow? I'm thankful for all its progress. I'm thankful for every blessing. I'm thankful for everything God has done. I celebrate that and honor that. We're like a 76-year-old church, and we have a great legacy and a great history. But do we believe there is more? Do we believe that the church can grow? That's a great question, but that's a great faith to have.
Yeah, what would you see as some things that would be working against that faith to grow?
Well, I think sometimes you can get stuck and begin to doubt, like maybe we're done. Like maybe I've led as far as I can lead. Like there's a lot of head game that leaders get into. Like, can I make progress? Is there more in me that I can push the ball forward? There's so much that we don't talk about, but to the core of us, like, do you believe the church can grow? And I think Chris Hodges says something like this: as long as heaven and hell are in play, man, the church, right? And here's what the confidence I get is that, man, this is God's bride. Yeah. Like this never loses. The church is going to win one way or the other, right? Yeah. There's always going to be a thriving local church, a local apostolic church. And so, yeah, you're part of the winning team. And so we say globally, there will always be a church. The gates of hell cannot prevail. That doesn't mean your local church. And that doesn't mean Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church will always be in existence. It takes leaders that believe, no, there's more. There's a great future. This church can grow. And I just want to say it. I believe we're going to have our best year in 2025.
Yeah, and I'm excited about, more things that, the listeners will hear about as we release more episodes. Like even our next episode, I think we're going to dive into the vision and strategy for this year, and what that looks like. And super excited. We've been talking about that and crafting that, that all of it is for church growth. And so talk to me about people who may be thinking, okay, do you guys only just care about numbers and people showing up? Can you just break down, when you say church growth, like, what are you talking about?
So I believe that God has a redemptive potential for every church and every ministry, every individual. Like, and are we reaching that? Are we touching the zenith of what it means for us to be a church that's thriving? Or we've settled? And again, the only way you know that is if you are truly trying to ask God to help you find the right solution, right pathway to move the local church forward. Does numbers matter? Numbers matter because it's people, okay?
Right.
Now, what you can't control all of that, but what you can control, and we'll get into some of this, but you can control what you do, and you can control how you view this and how you feel about it, how you think about it. And if you don't think your church can grow, one of the ways that we talk about this is exercising your leadership muscle. Like, do you believe in, something that's risky? Do you have the mindset, the emotional fortitude to say, I'm going to try something that's going to stretch my leadership, stretch the vision. I'm going to play big league ball. I'm swinging for the fence. You can play it safe. Okay. And you can play where, man, hey, if we were going to play safe, we should have done that a long time ago. I could golf more, right? I could do more things, right. Have a bigger check probably, right? Yeah. But we chose not to play safe. Yeah. We're going to step out. We're going to risk, and we're going to keep risking. And that is a mindset because it dies in the heart of the leader before it ever dies in the pew. I'm going to say that again. That vision, the passion, the heartbeat dies in the heart of a leader before it ever dies in the pew. And so it's crucial that we as leaders and people that oversee ministries and systems that, man, we keep the fact the local church is the hope of the world, yeah. And this church is going to grow.
Amen. I believe that. So if number one is faith for growth, believing that this church, the Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church, can grow. What's number two?
So this is where it just gets a little bit real, okay? And this is what we call just strengthening the home base, right? That it's important for us as leaders to do our very best to make sure that our personal home life, whether that's our kids and the relationship with our kids, our marriages, that we're working through the things that keep it strong and healthy. And so there's where you got to like dive in and say, okay, God, I know, again, and I'm talking to somebody right now that probably you're in a challenge. You're probably not at your best place or best space in your relationships. You may be funky with your kids or your home life. But here's where I'm saying, there's just no way that you have a thriving ministry on the outside and then you're crumbling in your personal life. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. Perfection was lost in the garden. Right. But what I am saying is that there's got to be some intentionality to say, how do I get this better? How do I work through whatever battle, whatever struggle, whatever issue I'm facing right now? How do I work through that so at the end of that, I come out better, stronger, right? Because if I gain the whole world, yeah, right, and lose my own soul or lose my family or lose my marriage, have I really won?
So this is foundational. This would you say this is foundational to everything else that we would talk about, whether that's in individual health, but family health, strengthening the home base. Each individual is a part of that. This is a foundational part of everything that we would want to do because a healthy church is made up of healthy families, healthy individuals, right?
Absolutely.
And so if we're going to be a healthy church that grows, there has to be a healthy home base, whether that's in the individual's home or just even our home people, our church people. There has to be a level of health there to be able to meet needs, to be able to help people, to be able to, invite people into this church, into our lives, into the kingdom. So I think that's why this is so important and foundational that we get this right. And I love that you said it's not perfection because we all, man, every person listening could be like, well, I've missed the boat there many times.
Yes.
It's not perfection. We're not saying life is full of trouble and problems and challenges. We're just looking for progress, one step at a time, continuing to move the right direction. And that applies to our homes, strengthening that, prioritizing our families, prioritizing our marriages. I believe that our church should be full of healthy, godly marriages.
Right.
Our church should be full of healthy, godly families.
That's right. And you know what? Again, there's work to be done in all of our relationships.
Sure.
So it's the little progresses that begin to have a huge ripple effect. Like you have to just begin to take one step, one action at a time to say, okay, how do I get this better? What do I need to do? Some, again, there's going to be some serious work that needs to be done. Like I would encourage some people, hey, maybe you do need to get counseling. Maybe you need to read a book. Maybe you do need to kind of, circle the wagon, so to speak. Maybe that is your focus. But again, I think it's tragedy when we focus on what the church is doing and then we don't give attention to the home.
Yeah, and I think that we're moving more and more in the direction of trying. This podcast is part of it, of equipping and trying to provide resources and opportunities for people to grow in different areas of their life. And, we're not going to let the cat out of the bag on everything in 2025, but I'm excited about some things that we have planned this year that I believe will genuinely help in this area. Looking even back last year, the intentionality and time we invest into Family Month to strengthen the home and to strengthen marriages and the resources that we provide. There's things this year that we're going to do that I'm super excited about. But the other side of that is it can't just all come from the church. There has to be things, to your point, there may be decisions that a husband needs to take, or a decision a mom needs to take to continue to move and progress toward a healthier version of themselves this year. And so number 2 is that we're strengthening the home base. We're going to be prioritizing family and marriage. That's a way to grow.
Yeah, and I do think one of the things we're trying to move the needle in this area is, strategically we send out a all-church survey through our church, right? And some of those questions are regarding the family, like, are you praying with your spouse? Like, do you do that? We're trying to get people just more aware, more conscientious that, man, the enemy will devour you if you let it, right? Things get attached to our homes that are not healthy. And again, we don't need to be blinded to that. We need to recognize if the enemy can't get to you, he's going to get to somebody close to you.
Yeah. All right. Number 3. What is number 3?
Number 3 is a healthy leadership. A healthy church, okay? So again, I know they're tethered, but a healthy leadership is a healthy church. And the fact is that we have an emotional health. It's the inside game that really we need to pay attention to. Like you cannot thrive when you're drowning inside, when you're not emotionally there. You're numbed out. You've been hurt. There's so many descriptions I could use about the condition of the inside of the leader, okay? There are people I'm talking to right now that are just discouraged because of just the scars that are left through leadership, that there's a real cost to being a leader. And so, you know what, there's no way to bypass it. I remember someone saying this, you can only lead at the threshold of your pain. And so there's going to be one day where I can't take anymore. I can't go through anymore. I can't have one more person walk out. I just heard this from another podcast that said, an average person has 7 relational transitions in their life, okay? A pastor will have 7 relational transitions in a year.
Wow.
Okay? Just think about that. Like when you're leading in the church, there are lots of emotional tolls. And so to keep that inside game healthy, man, that's so important because our giftedness will keep working. Your talents will keep working, but doesn't mean that the inside game is healthy and strong. The inside game, the emotional game is way more crucial and way more important. And there's a trick to this. There's a way to make sure, listen up, this is not just positive mental attitude, and this is not just living off inspiration. This is an intentional approach, the filter which I lead. How do you stay healthy? Like, that's a really great question.
Yeah.
Okay, let me throw it at you. So how do you stay healthy?
Yeah, I'd say it's okay. So I saw this recently. There's the law of diminishing returns when it comes to encouragement and inspiration. But there's something powerful about this, unsteady about discipline. So a lot of people are addicted to inspiration and encouragement, to your point. And the problem is that feels good for a moment, but whenever you have no discipline, it fades, and then you're back to ground zero. I would say part of me staying healthy is living a life of discipline, is being a self-feeder, is being intentional about my spiritual health, about staying in the Word and praying, the foundational spiritual things. But also on top of that, man, I love listening to podcasts. I love diving into blogs. I love to read books. I love to feed my brain and learn and get better and to continue to grow. because we talked about this a couple of episodes ago, but we haven't, I think it was actually the last episode of 2024 that we haven't arrived. We haven't arrived. So I think staying healthy, number one is staying disciplined, making sure that I'm feeding, but also the other part of it is having people in my life that sharpen me, that can sense when something's off, that something's not right, that I can genuinely have honest conversations about.
Yeah.
And I feel like what I witness a lack of in a lot of people is they just don't have many people in their life that they can just open up to. I know people who are they live life on the edge at all times, but they just don't have anyone to be honest and open with. And I think part of me being able to stay healthy, not that I'm perfect, I have issues just like any other listener. It's that I try to live a life of discipline. I heard one person say, when you look at my life, it's boring. Like it's a boring life. You look at a routine and what we do. Sure, there's fun things, but overall, it's not some wild roller coaster ride. Steady, just trying to stay steady each day. That's that life of discipline, but it's also having people in my life that sharpen me and make me better.
Yeah, I love that term, boring leadership.
Yeah,
I do.
crazy?
That's a great word, really. Words. Again, boring leadership, it's the grind, it's the discipline, it's the focus, it's the intentionality that is going to continue to help you lead today so you can show up tomorrow, right? And again, that's the inside game. A phrase that I've heard, I used it countless of times, even on other podcasts, is that, the greatest gift you give someone, the greatest gift I give my family, the greatest gift I give you, this church, is staying encouraged. And so whose job is it to keep me encouraged? Well, it's my job. Yeah. I appreciate all the inputs, the prayers, all the things that people have done to just bolster and help. And that means so much and goes such a long way. But honestly, there is something inside every leader that has to know, how do I continue to fill my tank? How do I continue to stay where I'm not drained, I'm not discouraged, I'm not in a place where anxiety and, I'm fear and all of those things. When a leader begins to emotionally drain, like there's a hole in the bottom of his cup or her cup, and it's just continually draining, but there's no refill, there's no filling back up. That was my MO for many, many years until I came to a point where I said, I can't lead like that no more. I'm not going to lead like that no more. That has a shelf life. And in the end, and every end result is not a good one, okay? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, some adjustments of I need inputs that fill me up. Again, podcasts, reading books, going to conference, having meaningful conversations. Those things continue. The prayer, the fasting, the things the relationship with God. Though that's not fake, okay? That's not just good because it needs to be said. When you talk to God,
right.
You know when your heart is open to the voice of God. You don't have to fake that to anybody, and when God is speaking to you. And again, it doesn't mean that everything in your life is calm and it's all perfect. When is that day? Like, tell me that.
Let me know when you figure it out.
Was that like April 24th at 4 o'clock? I don't know, right? But I can tell you, there's a lot of days where you got a trowel in your hand and you got a sword in the other hand, and you're doing the best you can to lead. But I'm telling those that will listen, and I'm telling you from the hard-fought lessons, is that you have to focus on continually filling your inside man, that inside tank, to say, I'm going to continue to lead from a full state, not an empty state.
Yeah, and just to put myself in the listeners, car with them or wherever they're listening, and some of them may be leaders in the church here, some of them may be volunteers, some of them may not be, they may just be a great church member right now. And I think if anything, number one, I would think that it would be encouraging to hear that some of the pastors in your church are honest enough to say, we don't have it all together.
Right.
But we are doing our best to figure it out and to stay healthy. And we're human beings just like anyone listening to this. Yep. And just because we teach or preach or lead or we're on staff at the church doesn't mean that we are, that we are sheltered from real life problems.
Immune to it.
It's not. That doesn't happen.
Right.
And so let that be an encouragement that at least to know that we're in the real world too. And we have to fight the same devils sometimes. But I love the analogy of we're building and we're fighting. That's Nehemiah, right? Mm-hmm. We're building and we're fighting. Yeah. And that's not always fun. And then there's there's seasons where it's not that way. There's sometimes where it's not. Sometimes it is just a season of building and you don't feel like you got the wind at your back sometimes. And then there's sometimes you feel like you're not able to build as much because you're fighting more. I think that's just life, and we're all part of it. None of us are immune. And I think too, part of this is, and I know we're talking to a wide variety and we got to keep rolling, but we're talking to a wide variety of people on this podcast. But I think we ought to remove the shame or the guilt or whatever there is around just asking for help, just talking to somebody about it. Like, we have had to do that. I have had to do that. I've had to go. You and I have had many times we just sit and talk about things like, what's really going on? How are you doing? Pastor Dan used to ask this question: how are you doing, and how are you really doing? Right? I mean, when's the last time someone who's listened to this, really answered the question honestly, how are you doing? And had someone in your life that you could open up to and get some direction. And I would encourage, whether that's counseling, whether that's a peer, a leader in your life, remove all the shame and guilt from that, right? Let's lean into making sure that we are healthy leaders. Healthy leadership equals a healthy church.
Yeah.
Okay.
So good. I love it.
Number 4. What's number 4?
Number 4 is honestly polishing up systems, or what we call sharpening tools. Okay.
Yeah.
Sharpening tools meaning, we do a lot of good things, but every now and then you need to go back up and just sharpen those tools, get them better. Like,
because it gets dull.
It does. And honestly, we find a default that's comfortable, but it may not be the best. Okay. And so this is where the systems that run the church, systems that run, again, your life are the things that you need to continue to sharpen up, get better. So the kind of the imagery that I'm not introducing, but I would just like to share is the fact that, this matters so much that we get these right, that, it deserves our real attention and focus. That, what we do as a church, and we've got a lot of great systems. So let's just take one system, like first impressions. Man, we want to make that where people are they feel the energy, they feel the pulse, they feel the work. And this is really what it takes for leaders to step in and say, we're going to make sure whatever I'm doing it at the very best and the top level that I can do this. I'm not dialing it in. I'm not faking it. The church is way too important. And what the future is going to hold is people that care about those systems. Yeah. They care about the systems that are running the church. Again, there's a lot of systems. It could be worship. It could be children's ministry. It could be youth ministry. There's a lot of systems that work. But those that are leading those have the mindset, man, how do we sharpen those? What do we need to tinker with? What do we need to do to adjust? Are we really doing this at the level that is making a maximum impact? So there's a lot there, but what I fear is that, man, we are so easy to jump onto the next thing or the new thing, that the things that matter, we just kind of let them coast.
Yeah, and a lot that are listening would know this. Some that are listening may not know, but just practically speaking, one of the things last year that you begin to challenge system leaders. We have a group of people that lead the systems of our church, call them system leaders. I mean, we're so creative that we came up with the name system leaders, and we would gather with them. And one of the things that you challenged was training. That we asked them to strategically find times last year to meet with their teams and to do some intentional training. And it was amazing how, they listened. They did what you asked them to do. Why do we do that? Well, we can just be good enough. We can just check mark, everybody showed up today, or, hey, we accomplished. But you're challenging us to be better, to get better, to continue to make progress and to continue to improve. And I think that's happening every time we give a little bit of intentionality to it. I think the people in these systems, the volunteers that serve in the systems, but ultimately, the reason why we do all of this is for others, for the people who are just new, getting connected, or the people who aren't even here yet. The reason these systems exist is to get people connected ultimately to Jesus Christ and to create a relationship with Him. And so, whatever we are doing, we want to do it to the best of our ability. We want to do it with excellence. That's one of our behavior values here. We want to do it with excellence. And so that's why this matters. And so we put that stuff under a microscope. We don't accept, bad system operations. Now at times some things slip through and we may not even know. And what I love is when we don't even know when something didn't work well before it was already fixed, and we hear about what happened and it was already corrected before we ever had to do anything with it. And so that culture of excellence, that culture expecting things to work well because this is kingdom stuff. I love that about our church and about our system leaders.
And I don't ever want to dial away from that. It is on us we create the culture. We're creating the environments that we're inviting people to. And again, most importantly, it represents God. And are you pleased with our efforts? Like, do we train? How does an usher learn how to, put on his usher A game, right? How does a greeter learn how to do that? How does baristas learn how to serve where people want that experience, right? It's a positive experience, because most bad experiences people won't share with you, but it's a lasting memory, an emotional memory that they have about whatever they've interacted with you. And so for me, I think every system or every department needs to understand, like, how are we polishing this up? What are we going to do to make this better? And so it's a challenge for us, because the future has a church in it. Okay.
Yeah,
but it's going to be a healthy, well-run, well-organized church.
Yeah. Amen. So good. All right. Number 5. What's number 5?
Number 5 would be blending the physical and the digital. Okay. And now I have a limited understanding. You're going to have to speak more into this, but it really is the understanding that, man, what a opportunity in the world and environment we live in, where there is a physical church and there is a digital church, and we're all missionaries, and we can have the ability to influence people literally globally, those that connect with our church. This is a time, a place where we can really focus on what we're doing. I hope and encourage everyone to go and watch one of our services. Again, I'm so thankful for those amazing volunteers that put on the camera. They're on the switchboard. They're lighting. Their music, the sound. They're making it happen, right? And they're giving their very best, and they're trying their very best with the limited resources we can provide with them. And they are just pushing it. As someone said this, you guys push your guys' stuff further than it's built to be pushed. Okay, because you have some people that are just hungry, trying to take it to the next level. I can't tell you how grateful I am for them.
Yeah, you've said a term. I'd never heard it until you said it, but you called it the fidgetal church.
That's an original.
It's not original?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was going to give you full credit, just to be clear.
You can still do that.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know who said it.
Yeah.
So I heard you say the fidgetal church.
A wise man once said.
A wise man. But I think that's what we're talking about, is this blend of physical gatherings and what happens digitally. And, I'll amen everything you said. I don't have to go back over all of that. But we are ridiculously blessed with amazing volunteers who are a part of this digital footprint that is Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church. And just a couple stories recently. It sounds so silly, but we posted our social media team ran by Lauren Pate.
Thank you.
She absolutely. She posted a video recently of just a little video of someone. It was a sentence that said, "I give up going to church." Period. And Jordan Kellogg walks across and she puts a period after "I give up." So now it's 2 sentences. It says, "I give up. I'm going to church." And I'm telling you, that reel absolutely exploded on Facebook, has over 900,000 views, shared over 400 times, close to 500 comments. And that is the biggest reach that we have ever had. When you think about something like that many people were exposed to our church. Now, you're thinking, well, did that video bring anybody closer to Jesus? Well, I don't know, but I can tell you that it gave them the opportunity.
Right.
Because now they see Goodlettsville Pentecostal Church, and you know what? If they see that, then maybe they'll see a message, or maybe they'll go a little deeper and they'll see a video that we posted about the gospel of Jesus Christ. Maybe so. Everyone that we want to reach is online somewhere.
Yeah.
And so that's why we put so much intentionality to the digital side of this. And I just want to maybe address, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this. When COVID happened, we were somewhat forced more online, for sure.
Yeah.
We were pushed into that space, and we grew a lot through that as far as our knowledge of online, and that pushed a lot of churches. And basically your entire church was an online church at that point. And a lot of people came back from that. Some people never did. But what we learned through all of that is there is a space for an online campus. There's people who engage with us every week online, and we don't shame them. There is a a thought process out there about shaming people who never come to your church. If people only understood how many people have walked through our doors and the first time they ever engaged with us was because of an online experience. That's the reason we invest so much time and energy, people resources, financial resources into providing a high quality online experience every single week, because we want it, number one, to represent well. We don't want people to be turned off by what they see online. We want them to see it and it be engaging and captivating, to give an opportunity. And we have people, whether it was Fall Fest last year, so many guests that I interacted with, where do you think they found us? Online. So many people that I have talked to who have acclimated to our church and become key members, their first experience with GPC was digitally. And so this concept of a phygital church, I believe we should not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. I believe that. I believe in the power of coming together. I don't think an online church experience can replace an in-person church experience. However, I do believe that it can be part of that. I do believe it can be a positive step in for people, whether they're sick and they can't make it and they can join in online. I think we can reach people online, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of conversations greater than this one that it talks about this. For instance, some would say that you need to offer experiences that are not online. Like, again, if you're going to be a part of this, we need you to be in the building. But again, as a model and as a mindset, honestly, the physical only church is a dying church, because as things that you just said, right? Our reach is further with online. For instance, if it's just Sunday, then that's all you get. But online, we can get Monday and Tuesday, and they really tell you your reach is probably Sunday through Wednesday.
Yeah,
people that engage on that weekend service, and so who knows the depth and breadth of what you're doing? We have an opportunity. And I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for the team that really cares. There's really just no telling how much they influence. But again, this is a value. The future's here. Again, one of the things that thinkers that lead in this area say that a lot of discipleship is going to be digitized, right? Lots of discipleship. And so again, putting content out there and just letting God bless it. Letting God take that and minister to people.
Yeah, this isn't going away.
No, not at all.
And we still have work as good as great as the people are that are doing this in our church. We still have growth here for sure. And I definitely believe we're going to continue to grow in this area. What's number 6?
Number 6 is welcoming the next generation. Okay, it's really the joyful noise of children.
Man, think about that. I love that phrase.
Yeah, the joyful noise of children, right? Yeah. And so ironically, again, there is a tension there, because you don't want misbehaved kids and kids that act like the church is a zoo and they're running around. It's not a playground. There's a sacredness about this, but they're kids, right? Yeah. And then also with the tension that, hey, we want this to be a place where they're not running over elders and they're not causing hazards and all of those things. But the reality is, if the church ever gets real where it's quiet and there's no noise of children, there's no future.
Yeah.
Right. And so for us, we want to really lean into, young families and children, invest in them, that youth. We recognize we want to really double our efforts to cultivating leadership, start spreading that information into their spirit that God's called you. God needs you, actually. Yeah. These are words that we actually used. God needs you.
Yeah.
And He's designed you for a ministry, for a purpose.
Yeah.
And so I love the noisy. I love families that are having new babies, and I'm praying for families that want babies.
Yes.
And, I just think all of that is so crucial for the church and what the future holds.
Yeah, I think I heard somebody recently, maybe Pastor Dan, but talked about, the future, the healthiest future church is a church that's full of young families, right? And I'm thankful that when you look around our church, there are a lot of young families that have found this to be their home church, that they found a place there, which speaks volumes to a great kids ministry and a great student ministry, places where parents feel safe to bring their kids, and there's great programs for them, and there's things to get them connected, and they're able to learn about Jesus and learn the gospel and the doctrine. And I'm thankful for the leaders that are passionate about that, and they do such
Amen.
a great job, and we're so blessed there. But that is the future. Honestly, we say that's not only just the future, that's the now. I mean, we have so many, when you say children, I would say obviously the teenagers and the young people don't want to be called children, but in that same vein, I'm telling you, I love that our church is so welcoming, and there's such a great place for them to even get involved and serve, and kind of hitting back on the last one about that digital space. I love that so many of our young people have found a place to get involved, whether that's in production or social media or getting engaged in that. I love that we're able to provide, that we're open to the idea that they can use their gifts and their talents now. They don't have to wait until they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s for God to begin to use them, that there's a place for them now at GPC. There's a place for them to use those gifts. And so the joyful noise of children, that's definitely a part of the growth of our church.
I mean, think about this. Someone said that 80% of Christians gave their lives to God before they were 18 years old.
Wow.
Right? There's a window there. Okay. They would call it the window between 4 and 14, where you're really making a huge impact on the spiritual development of someone's life, right? And again, that's why catechism in the Catholic Church is so profound. They understand this. And so for us, we have a window to really influence and shape the heart and mind and soul of people when we engage. And so, it's a priority. We're going to put fantastic leaders to help there. We're going to spend the money. And again, thankfully, in this church, if you've never seen our kids area, man, people walk in and think, man, this is a fantastic area. It looks like Disneyland. Again, we get people to ask, send me pictures. Honestly, and we're grateful for that, because this church a long time ago made the value that kids are not secondary. Kids are going to be priority. We're going to create an environment where they want to come. But honestly, we create that environment for parents too. When they walk in, they know it sends a signal, man. If you put kids in the dingy area and there's no care there, right? Everything's shoddy and second rate. How do you expect to translate that this is important, right? So to me, I think I know it's money, I know it's resources, but man, this is the future. It's got to be the noise of children.
I think it was Andy Stanley that he used to say, tell his friends, don't come to my church. Don't bring your kids to my church, because you'll never leave. don't come there. But I think that can be said here again. So thankful for the leaders that make this a safe place to teach apostolic doctrine, teach truth, where they can also have a great time and love being a part of the church.
Amen.
Love it. Okay, what's number 7?
Number 7, we would say casting wide nets, okay? And this is really about the mindset that all of us are called to reach people for Jesus, all of us. You never graduate from that. You never get into a position where God does not ask you to find, reach, and reach for somebody that needs Jesus. And so you can say it like this, you're not responsible for putting the fish on the hook. You're responsible for putting the hook in the water.
Yeah.
Right? And God, you're going to do all you can to continue to pray. God, bring people in my world. God, who am I not looking at that I could help in a spiritual manner? We've been having meetings about this recently, and even the fact that even in church that come every Sunday, people that need to be discipled, loved on, people that need to be, come on, let me get you in closer and let me help you as you take steps towards God. We're all called to do that. And again, the challenge is for every person. If you are a follower of Jesus, if you truly take Scripture as what it says, then one day you're going to stand before God and He's going to say, hey, who'd you bring with you? Right? What did you do with what I did in your life? Like the gospel came to you trying to get to someone else. You're not the dead end of the gospel. You're not the cul-de-sac of the journey. God had done a miracle in your life, so you would share that. And it's convicting. And so it has to be a prayer. It has to be something, God, help me to recognize that. Help me to honestly do something about that. Help me to at least try. I can't be responsible putting the fish in the net, but what I can be responsible is I'm beginning to spread a wide net. I'm going to try to God to do my very best to help someone.
Yeah, there's the word that, and again, this is what we've been talking about, which I think if the listeners will stay tuned, they'll hear more about this. But there's a word that sparks a lot of fear. When I say the word, I would say fear. I would say this word, paints a picture for some people, and I would say it's a fairly narrow picture because of the way we've used it in the past. We being just the church in general, but that's evangelism. And as soon as I said that, I guarantee you, people thought in one vein, and most people are like, well, I'm not doing that. And that would be whether, going out into the community, knocking on random people's doors and handing them a tract, that, hey, would you come to church with me on Sunday? Some people love that, by the way. And there's nothing wrong with that, to be clear. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not the only picture of how to win our world. There's people that God has put in our everyday lives, our pathway, in our world. Not in just the world, but in our world, that I believe is our responsibility to share the love of Jesus, to be the hands and feet of Jesus to them. And I think that is going to be one of the biggest growth drivers this year in our church, is this whole idea of personal evangelism, and what does that actually look like in 2025. And part of that, they're going to hear, the listeners are going to hear this language about how we're going to redefine evangelism this year. We're going to try to bring some clarity about what that actually means this year. And I believe it is every single person listening to this podcast. It is our duty, our responsibility. We were saved to do this. We are saved to do everything we can to populate heaven and to depopulate hell. The churchy word for that is evangelism.
Right.
But really all it is just sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I'm excited about that. I'm really looking forward to the ideas and things that are being talked about now for that. And I think that absolutely is going to be a major growth driver, not just for our church, but I'm telling you, as individuals, we grow when we begin to personally evangelize and we begin to share the God. Individually, we grow in our relationship and our walk with Jesus the more we share and talk about Him. So super excited about that. That's anything you want to add?
Yeah, I want to remove any demotivator. I want to demystify it. Again, this is not a calling that God would not put on us or ask us to do that was impossible for us to do.
Sure.
He wants us to find a way, in that the unique way that God created us, to live that out. And so, someone said it like this, Calvary paid for more people than we have in our church.
Oh.
Right?
That's right.
Calvary paid for way more people than we have in our church. And God, help us as a church, every leader, every person listening to this, God, help bring somebody in my world. Help me to recognize, help me to do my part to cast wide nets, Lord, because I want to be a soul winner. I want to make a difference in somebody's eternal story. I want to be that person. And so, it's a challenge. And the enemy wants to get us all messed up in this. The enemy wants to discourage us in this. We're going to try to put some fire under this and really try to make it live.
Yeah. So as we just wrap this up, we typically try to come with some kind of challenge, and I'm gonna just throw a challenge out if that's okay. I know we talked about a lot in this episode. There's 7 of these growth drivers. I would challenge you, number 1, just to go back and hopefully you're taking notes through, but you may want to go back through and break these down and just really take some time just to think through each of these. But I would say reflect on which one of these you can focus on first, just to spark change, just to take a step toward change. Which one of these would you say, hey, this is the one? This is one of, just not all 7. You can't hit all 7 at the same time. But which one should you start with, just to focus on, that would spark some change that I believe not only would spark change in the individual, but also spark change in our church?
Yeah.
And I would say that would be a great challenge for every listener.
Yeah, I do too. And again, depending where you are, all right, depending where you are, one of these is going to hit you.
Absolutely.
And so, man, take that to heart. Yep. Let it challenge you. And I pray 2025 is just a year that you look back and say, God, you were so good. And man, so many great, fantastic things happened, and I'm so grateful for that. Let's make it a year of meaning, a year of we're making a difference, and so thankful for that.
It's going to be a great year.
Amen.
Excited. All right, so one thing that's coming back for 2025 is people thought maybe they probably questioned. They've been wondering, are they going to do a volunteer verse? And the answer is Absolutely.
Let not your heart be troubled.
Come on, somebody.
We're going to be consistent.
So why don't you share who is our volunteer of this episode, their favorite verse?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I want to say first that I appreciate every volunteer of this church.
Amen.
I pray nothing but God's favor and blessings upon you, that God would bless your efforts. Thank you for your sacrifice, your dedication, your faithfulness, your commitment. Thank you for the enthusiasm you bring to the ministry. Yep. We're just so grateful for you. And so just want you to know that.
Couldn't do it without them.
That's exactly right. So this volunteer does a lot of things, really heavily in our tech department, really leads a part of the youth tech, involved in our church in general, again, helps as a barista. Yep. Super talented.
Very talented.
Super talented. And a gregarious personality. Oh, that's a great word right there.
That's good.
And so this is somebody that is just very, very special. I've known this individual since they were a baby. Okay. And this is none other than Savannah Walmer. Okay. Savannah Walmer. And I'm so thankful for her ministry, so thankful for what God's doing in her life. Busy, college, work. I mean, she's ministry. I mean, she's 25 hours, 26 hours a day, just all in. Thank you so very much. Amazing. But your favorite verse is Proverbs 16:33. I'm going to read it in the NLT. We may throw the dice, but the Lord determines how they fall.
Yeah.
And so, Savannah, that's what your favorite verse is. We give you a shout out. Thank you for all you do. You make us better. We're so grateful for you.
Thank you, Savannah. Hey, and thank you guys for jumping back on the Between Sundays train for 2025.
And share it. Share it.
Absolutely. Wherever you're listening, the majority of our listeners are on Apple. So, Austin, what do they do on Apple? Do they...
You give us stars.
Leave comments. That would be great. We would love to engage with you through comments, and we would love to see your reviews and to share it with your friends. So many of you are doing that. I get text messages and appreciate all of that. Thank you for listening. We wouldn't do this if you weren't listening. And so you're listening, and we're going to keep doing it. So thank you so much, and thanks for listening to this episode of Between Sundays. We'll catch you next time.